The Amex Platinum Card has become one of the most popular travel cards out there, with a lot of people ranking it number one as the best premium travel card. But as more and more people realize the annual fee is too high for them, and the card does not fit into their lives after year one, it's important to shine a little light on 3 other cards that give you amazing travel benefits for a much lower annual fee. Today we'll be talking about 3 credit cards, the pros and cons of each card, and how these cards compare to the Amex Platinum Card, if you can compare them at all. The first card, which in my personal opinion is one of the most slept on Amex cards, is the Delta SkyMiles Platinum Card. Obviously, to even consider applying for this card, you have to have some sort of loyalty to Delta or consider being loyal to Delta. Let's start with the multipliers of this card. You get 3x miles on Delta purchases made directly with Delta, 3x miles on hotel purchases made directly with hotels, 2x miles on restaurant purchases, which include takeout and delivery, 2x miles on groceries at US supermarkets, and 1x miles on all other purchases. Now let's talk about the featured benefits. You will receive a domestic main cabin round-trip companion certificate each year upon renewal of your card. You are responsible for paying the taxes and fees on that flight, which should only be around $11.20. However, Delta states these fees will not exceed $80. You will earn 10,000 MQMs after spending $25,000 on your Delta Platinum Card in a calendar year. You get 15% off when booking award travel on Delta flights. You can enjoy Delta Sky Club access at a rate of $50 per person for you and up to 2 guests. You have to be flying Delta to have access to Delta Sky Club. You get your first checked bag free on Delta flights. And lastly, a fee credit for global entry or TSA pre-check. There are also a few other benefits you can check out on the American Express website. A major pro I want to talk about before we move on to the cons of this card are you get 3x miles when booking hotels directly. And even though 3x miles isn't anything outstanding, most travel credit cards require you to book through the company's travel portal to earn extra points or miles on hotel bookings. Obviously, Delta doesn't own any hotels, so that doesn't really apply here, but I think it's still important to note because being able to book direct with the hotel and still earn more than 1 point per dollar or 1 mile per dollar is very rare. Now let's talk about the cons of the Delta SkyMiles Platinum Card. If you normally travel as a family, paying $50 per person to access the Delta Sky Club can be a lot. And depending on how many times per year you travel, you can find yourself paying hundreds of dollars just to access the Sky Club Lounge. However, for some people, the cost may be worth it if you value convenience and you're willing to pay for it. I also think it depends on the airport. Some airports are overcrowded, there's nowhere to sit, and traveling with kids in that type of environment is very stressful and annoying. So paying for the Delta Sky Club might be something that you're willing to do. In other airports, if it's not so crowded, if it's quiet, there's plenty of seating, and you're not at the airport for too long, you might not find it necessary to pay for access to the Delta Sky Club. The next con is about the annual companion certificate. It sounds like a great benefit, but some of the restrictions make it difficult for some people to enjoy. I have not personally used this benefit as I do not have this card, but I have heard multiple people express how difficult it can be to find a flight that meets the requirements this certificate comes with. You can only use this certificate on domestic flights in main cabin, and Delta has expressed in the terms and conditions that not all markets will have flights available that can be used with the annual companion certificate. So you may need a little bit of flexibility to enjoy this benefit. And to really seal the deal, this certificate does expire, so you'll need to plan your travel wisely. The next con is that a lot of people feel that SkyMiles are constantly being devalued. I have a lot to say about this. In my personal opinion, and I'm sure most people will agree, you get the most value from SkyMiles by being flexible. You get the most value from travel credit cards in general by being flexible. You may not be able to fly to Japan at a decent CPP using SkyMiles, but you can get a great deal going to Cancun or San Juan, Puerto Rico. You might not be able to go to Chicago at the rate you want, but you can go to Fort Lauderdale. And if you catch the SkyMiles flash sales, you can get an even better deal. That's why it's important to know exactly why you want each card you're applying for. If your only intention is to fly to Thailand on Delta One, then okay, SkyMiles might not be for you because you're definitely going to overpay on a flight like that and similar flights like that. I also feel like if you're constantly chasing the best cent per point, you should not get any SkyMiles card because it's really hard and difficult to find something over 2 cents per point, in my personal experience. I personally like to use my SkyMiles when it's less about the cent per point and more about just getting to the destination. At that point, I'm not really worried about how many SkyMiles I'm using. It's more so about just enjoying travel and not paying for the flight in dollars. Now let's talk about how this card compares to the Amex Platinum Card. For number one, you're earning a lot less credits with this card, which isn't a good or bad thing, in my personal opinion. The Amex Platinum Card gives you more lifestyle credits, and the Delta SkyMiles Platinum Card gives you more travel credits. Well, actually, the Amex Platinum Card gives you a better mix of both. Also, the multipliers on the Delta SkyMiles Platinum Card are better in my opinion because you can earn miles on purchases other than travel, which is good for the everyday spender, whereas with the Amex Platinum Card, you're only earning extra points on hotels and flights. The other huge difference with these cards is that with the Amex Platinum Card, you can earn points which can be transferred out to Amex's travel partners like Hilton, Delta, Marriott, Air France KLM, Aeromexico, etc. Versus with the Delta SkyMiles card, you can only earn miles, which can only be used to book flights at Delta, which again isn't a good or bad thing. It depends on your lifestyle and what you use your points and miles for. If you know you only use your Amex points to book flights anyway, and most of the time you're using Delta flights, then that really doesn't affect you. I personally don't use my points to redeem at hotels, so me having a Delta SkyMiles card doesn't really affect me negatively, but you just have to look at what exactly, again, you want from this card. The only major downside to that is if you're traveling internationally a lot, you're going to overpay for flights if you use your SkyMiles. That's where something like having an Amex card with points comes in handy because you can transfer your points out and get really, really amazing deals, especially if there's a transfer promotion going on. I mean, you can obviously compare these two cards, but they're just on two different levels. With the Amex Platinum card having a higher annual fee, it can afford to throw more at you, whereas the Delta SkyMiles card can't really do that, but you still get amazing value from it. And again, I think it's one of the most slept on airline credit cards and travel credit cards in general. And I also think it's important to note that if you do primarily use your Amex points to book Delta flights, having the Delta SkyMiles card will also get you that extra 15% off on award bookings that you're not going to get just by having an Amex card. So that's really important to consider as well. I had to change. I thought I could thug it out, and that hoodie, no ma'am. The next card we are talking about is the Capital One Venture X card, which has an annual fee of $395. Let's start with the multipliers on this card. You get 10x miles on hotels and rental cars booked through Capital One Travel, 5x miles on flights booked on Capital One Travel, 2x miles on all other everyday purchases. Now let's talk about the featured benefits. You get a 10,000 mile anniversary bonus every year starting on your first anniversary. You get a $300 annual travel credit on bookings made through Capital One Travel. You get a statement credit for global entry or TSA PreCheck. You get access to Capital One lounges, and with Capital One you can enjoy unlimited complimentary access for you and 2 guests, which is very different from Delta's rate of $50 per person. However, Capital One doesn't have nearly as many lounges as Delta. You also get unlimited access for you and 2 guests to over 1,300 lounges worldwide from Priority Pass and Plaza Premium Group. Now let's talk about the cons. And for this card, I'm going to read 3 negative reviews that were posted on the website because it gives the best insight onto what actual cardholders think about this card. And all of these reviews were left in the past 2 to 3 weeks. The first one states, "As a frequent standby flyer twice a month, I chose this card above others for access to the DFW lounge. They have since changed their policy, negating the primary reason I got this card in the first place. Even though I have access to 1,300 lounges with Priority Pass, I now do not have access to the lounge with my card's name on it. This is ridiculous. I have recommended this card often, but wish I could take it back." The second one states, "Lots of great amenities, but I was disappointed to see the limited use of Capital One miles. They can't be transferred to any of the domestic airlines that I used. Also, as a military member, I learned for the first time that some companies don't honor waiving fees in response to the Service Members Civil Relief Act. I will need to cancel this card next year." The third one states, "I got the card because of the great perks that come with it. My wife and I had our 1-year anniversary in July of this year. I got the card early on in the year in preparation for it. I got the points, and we were also super excited to use all the lounges as we traveled to Minnesota and then NYC. We didn't have a chance to check out the Capital One on our departure from Dallas Airport, but on our way back from NYC, we tried to go into the Capital One lounge as we were starving and wanted to try out the amazing perks promised. We were not allowed in as it was recently made into a departure-only lounge. It seriously put a dent in our experience, and I don't know that I'll be renewing it for next year. I was promised a perk that Capital One did not deliver on." Looking at a company's travel partners before you decide to apply for a card with them is essential. Capital One currently has 15 travel partners, including Air France KLM, Aeromexico, British Airways, and Choice Hotels, just to name a few. So if Delta is your preferred airline and Hilton is your preferred hotel, you might want to reconsider getting a card with Capital One because you won't be able to transfer your miles over to these companies. I'm pretty sure you can still book through Capital One using your miles, but you might be booking at a rate that you're not comfortable with. Just something to think about. Now let's talk about how this card compares to the Amex Platinum Card. In my opinion, the multipliers on the Capital One Venture X card blow the multipliers on the Amex Platinum Card out of the water. 10x miles on hotels and rental cars booked through Capital One versus 5x points on just hotels with the Amex Platinum. They both offer 5x flights, but the fact that you can get 2x miles on all purchases with the Capital One Venture X card versus 1x points on all purchases with the Amex Platinum Card is huge. It's rare to find a card that will give you 2x miles or points on all other purchases, and that's something that I think Capital One is doing very well. I think the one major problem with the Capital One Venture X card is it doesn't give you any perks with the airline or hotel. With the Amex Platinum Card, you have the Fine Hotel and Resorts and the hotel collection benefits. You also get the $200 airline fee credit with the Amex Platinum Card. With the Delta SkyMiles card, you get the free checked bag, 15% off award bookings, and status boost. I think if Capital One could add a few benefits similar to the ones I just mentioned, it would make the card a little bit better. I also think Capital One's travel partners aren't as widely preferred, and that brings the card's value down. I still wanted to include this card because of the multipliers, and if you do like Choice Hotels, this could be a great card, as well as if you plan to use your card to fly internationally frequently. It's still an amazing card, I think, just for a very specific person. The next card is the Citi Premier Card, which has an annual fee of $95. Let's get into the multipliers. There is a limited time offer happening where you can earn 10x points on hotel and rental cars booked through the Citi Travel Portal, 3 points per dollar on all other hotel purchases, 3 points per dollar on air travel, 3 points per dollar at restaurants, 3 points per dollar at supermarkets and gas stations, and 1 point per dollar on all other purchases. Because this card has a low annual fee of $95, it doesn't come with a plethora of credits, which isn't necessarily a bad thing if you are not someone who cares about credits to begin with, and if you're not someone who would take advantage of all the credits that the Amex Platinum Card comes with. You do get $100 off a single hotel stay, of $500 booked through the Citi Travel Portal once a year. And the card also comes with 0 foreign transaction fees. Citi also has 17 travel partners, including JetBlue, Virgin Atlantic Flying Club, Wyndham Rewards, and more. The first con of this card is the lack of travel protection that you would normally get with a travel credit card. This card used to offer trip cancellation protection, car rental insurance, lost baggage protection, and travel accident insurance. However, Citi decided to do away with those benefits on majority of their cards. The second con for some people are going to be their travel partners. The travel partners are best for international travel depending on which companies you're loyal to. You could be loyal to Wyndham Rewards and this could be the best card ever. When it comes to travel partners, everybody has their own preferences. The reason I felt this card was a little better than the Amex Platinum Card for some people is because I feel it appeals to people with a strict travel budget and therefore people who stay at more affordable hotels. You can book a room at Wyndham Hotels for 15,000 points per night, which I'm going to go ahead and say is impossible to do with Marriott and very difficult to do with Hilton. I feel like talking about cards that appeal to people with stricter travel budgets is really important, and if you can't take on the Amex annual fee and the hotels in the FHR collection and the hotel collection aren't really in your budget, there are plenty of other cards that'll still give you amazing value at a quarter of the price. I also think the Citi Premier Card would be great for someone who does not care about the extra credits that a lot of the Amex cards come with, or if you don't care about having an enhanced travel experience. That could be the FHR benefits, that could be the concierge service, anything extra. If you just want to travel using points, the Citi Premier Card is a simpler and much easier card to manage. And with that being said, you can obviously again compare it to the Amex Platinum, but it just doesn't compare to the Amex Platinum. They're on two different levels, but still a better card for someone somewhere. That's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.